This is the Locked On Jets podcast on this Sunday. I'm your host, John B. from GangGreenNation.com. If you're new to the show, this is a daily podcast covering the New York Jets. Today, we are breaking down Week 2. The Jets lose to the Buffalo Bills 30-10 at MetLife Stadium. The Jets fall to 0-2 on the 2025 season. I think that this was a very, very disappointing performance by the New York Jets. Last week, the Jets lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but as I mentioned after that game, there were some genuine positives you could take away from that one. This game had zero redeeming qualities for the New York Jets. And in fact, a lot of the positives we saw last week were completely reversed in this one. I think there are two big takeaways from this defeat. One was the play of the quarterback. The other was the disappointing way in which the Jets hurt themselves in this game. And we're going to talk about both of them on today's show. Let's talk about the Jets' errors in this one. Now, look, we all know that it's going to take time for Aaron Glenn to turn this team around. Quite frankly, we know that most of the players on this roster will not be here the next time the New York Jets are a good team. And we knew going into this game that the Buffalo Bills were a far better team than the New York Jets. Everybody expected Buffalo to win this game. But there are different ways to lose. There's losing because the Bills outplay you, and there's losing because you make self-inflicted errors. And this game was both for the New York Jets. I can live with the first one. I can live with Buffalo winning this game because they're better than the Jets. What's tougher to live with are all of the unforced errors the New York Jets made. And this started with the first Buffalo series. Jets had the Bills on 3rd and 8. They send a blitz at Josh Allen, but they are not under control. They are not containing the rushing lanes. And when you blitz Josh Allen, you cannot just fly up the field. You need to maintain integrity in your lanes, because if you fly too far up the field, he'll just tuck in and run. He ripped off a 40-yard run, followed by another third down play where the Jets are about to get off the field. Then Michael Clemens does what Michael Clemens always does. He commits a roughing the passer. Jets were about to hold the Bills to a field goal. Instead, the drive gets extended. The Bills are able to punch it in for a touchdown. Next offensive series for the Jets, Justin Fields fumbles. Then Bills kick a field goal. It's 10-0. Jets get the ball back. Jets make a couple big mistakes. A bad end around causes a 10-yard loss then by Arian Smith. Then Smith tries to make up for his error, but lines up offside, does not come down with a catchable ball. Next series, Buffalo gets it back. They get off the field again, but Tony Adams commits a holding penalty. So the drive's extended. Bills get another field goal out of the drive. Just mistakes for the New York Jets left and right. And then Buffalo gets it back once more. James Cook breaks a 44-yard touchdown run. Jets aren't tackling well, really sloppy run fits, guys not finishing tackles. You know, the Bills are good enough that you don't need to gift them things. And in a game like this, Josh Allen did not even need to play well. And the reality is that, outside of that one run that he broke, Josh Allen did not play well. Josh Allen finished this game 14 of 25, 148 yards. If you had told me going in the Jets would hold Josh Allen to 5.9 yards per attempt and he'd throw the ball 25 times, I tell you the Jets were going to be in this game. I tell you they have a great chance of winning. But that required the Jets to play effective football, and they did not. And I want to like Aaron Glenn. And I understand it's going to take more than 2 weeks to clean up the mess. I understand he inherited players who are both not good and guys who are just not smart fundamentally. Guys who are going to make dumb mistakes the way the Jets did in this game. And the Jets could not completely overturn their roster in one offseason. They had to bring some of these guys back. You had to expect it to some extent. But Aaron Glenn also spent the entire offseason talking about how much smarter the Jets were going to play this year because this new coaching staff was so much better. I think Aaron Glenn's got to tone that down a little bit until we get results, because this was anything but an encouraging performance. This was the type of performance that frustrates you as a fan. Last week's game was disappointing. Nobody was happy to see the Jets lose, but there were positives you could take from that game. There were areas in which the Jets executed at a high level, mostly on the offensive side of the ball. In this game, the Jets were bad. The Jets did not play their A game. The Jets did not play their B game. The Jets did not play their C game. This was a game the Jets simply no-showed, and they made error after error. And another thing that really bothered me was just the lack of fight from this team, and I think that begins with the coaching staff. Jets are down 20-0 in the second quarter, and they're kicking a field goal on a 4th and 3. You're down 20 points. Field goal does you no good there. It's almost like you're taking it as a moral victory that you're avoiding a shutout. In the second half, they're down 23-3. They punt the ball on a 4th and 1 from their own territory. You're down 20 points in the third quarter. You got to go for it. And the early part of the second half, reminded me of a game the Jets played last year against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it was week 7. It was a Sunday night game, and the Steelers just ran over the Jets in the second half of that game. And the Jets just did not show fight. Well, in this game, Jets, went to the locker room down 17. Bills took the ball, 12-play field goal drive. Jets had that aforementioned drive where they punted it on 4th and 1. Bills take the ball again, 14-play touchdown drive. Where's the fight in this team? We were not expecting a lot of wins this year. What we wanted to see was a team that was competitive, a team that gave its opponents everything it could handle, a team that played smart and fundamental football. These are the things we are going to measure the 2025 New York Jets by. And it's not just that the Jets lost. Look, losing is disappointing. We all prefer wins over losses. I think we all knew heading into this game that it was going to be a tall order. And the Jets would have to not only play at a high level, the Bills would have to kind of look past the Jets. And that clearly did not happen in this game. But you leave this game feeling like the Jets lost because the Bills were better, of course. And look, I don't want to take away credit from what Buffalo did. I think a lot of the things they did were good. The Jets never really had a chance to get to their run game. We spent all week talking about how the Jets should be able to run the ball on Buffalo on this show. And the Jets never really had a chance because the game got so far out of hand so early. And the Bills did some good schematic things. Tony Romo on the CBS broadcast was talking about how they were blitzing using their corners for run blitzes, and that was really effective because the Jets weren't accounting for them in the run game. Give Buffalo credit for that. Give James Cook credit; he's a tremendous back. But you look at the Jets in this game. The Jets contributed to their demise as much as Buffalo did, and that's what's disappointing for me. It's not that the Jets came out on the short end of this game. That was to be expected. It's the way the Jets came out on the short end of this game, because in many ways, this did not look like an improved football team on the 2024 version of the Jets. We saw sloppy play. We saw fundamentally unsound play. We saw situationally unaware play. We just saw dumb play. And we did not see a lot of fight from this football team. That's got to change going forward. And the burden begins with the coaching staff. But it also begins with the quarterback. I had you on the Locked On Jets podcast. Well, there's not really a lot good you can say about Justin Fields' performance in this game. Last week left a lot of Jets fans hopeful after he had a big game against Pittsburgh. There was a big regression in this game, and it shows that, unfortunately, through 2 weeks of the season, Justin Fields is the same quarterback he's always been. We'll talk about who that quarterback is and what it means going forward as we continue here on this Sunday edition of Locked On Jets. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. PrizePicks is a fun way to stay locked in for the season. It's quick, easy, and a great way to follow along with football. And you can check projections. Josh Allen for more or less than 270 passing yards. Jets actually held it below that, but you can always get in on the action on PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineup after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We all turn to some funny places for advice. Your barista, your barber, maybe even a random stranger in the bathroom. But not everyone is the right one when it comes to real support. And that's why BetterHelp is here. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 10 years of experience, BetterHelp helps you find your right match, someone clinically trained and credentialed to guide you through life's challenges. You may catch yourself venting to group chats or oversharing with friends who mean well, but they're not therapists. Having someone trained can help you work through the tough situations, and it can make all the difference. And BetterHelp is flexible. You can join sessions online, from home, or on the go, which makes therapy fit into your busy schedule. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Hey, Locked On Jets fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive by. Download the free Upside app now by using my limited time promo code touchdown for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code touchdown. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. This is the Locked On Jets podcast on this Sunday. The Bills blow out the Jets 30-10 at MetLife Stadium. The Jets fall to 0-2 on the 2025 season. Very disappointing game for the Jets. Again, not so much because they lost, but the way it happened. And at the top of the list of disappointments has to be the play of Justin Fields. After a stellar performance a week ago, Fields regressed in a big way in this one. The final stat line was ugly. He finished 3 for 11 throwing the ball for 27 yards. He did add 49 yards on the ground on 5 carries, but the offense really stalled. And I think if you were watching this game, you saw that the quarterback was really the number one reason the Jets could not move the ball. Through the years, we've watched a lot of really bad Jets quarterback performances. So I don't think that you could say that this is the absolute worst performance we've seen, because you have to remember, we had the game where Geno Smith got benched 8 throws into the game in the first quarter. I mean, some of the Zach Wilson games, the 4 interception performance against the Patriots week 2 of his rookie year, or the game that got him benched in Foxborough a year later. We saw some really lousy Sam Darnold performances through the years, the Ryan Fitzpatrick 6 interception game. So you can't say it was the worst Jets quarterbacking performance, but I think you can say this was the type of performance that really, really held the offense back. And unlike a lot of those games where the performance was bad because of turnovers, Fields did commit 1 turnover, and it was a big one. It was in the first quarter as the game was falling apart for the Jets. He was stripped trying to run the ball. But this performance was not bad mainly because of turnovers. It was bad mainly because he could not hit a pass. On most of his incompletions, he had a guy open. And this started on the first series. He had a 3rd down. Jets got themselves into a bad spot in a 3rd and long. Fields had Garrett Wilson running open. If he puts the ball on Garrett Wilson, it's a big gain. He did not, though. And this was one of the stories of the game where Fields either stared down open receivers and didn't throw it to them, or just missed guys. So right before the end of the first half, Jets were driving. Jets had a chance to get it to a 2-score game by halftime. Fields had Isaiah Davis wide open on the right side. The Bills busted the coverage completely. Davis had daylight in front of him. Davis may have gone at least 20 yards. Davis may have scored. I mean, he was so wide open. And Fields just threw an awful pass. It was just a dreadful performance by Justin Fields. And unfortunately, Justin left the game in the second half. He was being tested for concussions. Now, by the time he left the game, things had gotten out of hand. So it's not necessarily a sign that Justin is seriously injured, but the Jets did get an injury scare for him later in the game. We will monitor his progress as the week goes forward. What we can say is that this was a disappointing step for Justin Fields. One of the things we talked about last week was Fields' game against Pittsburgh was a surprise, but it wasn't a shock because we've seen Justin Fields play at a high level before. There's no doubt that he's got the ability to display high-end play. The reason Justin Fields is on his 3rd team in 5 years in the NFL is that he hasn't been able to do it consistently. And he's always followed up his good games with really bad games. The question with Justin Fields was, again, has never been like, can he play a game like he played against Pittsburgh? The question is, can he stack the good games? Can he actually give a team consistently good quarterback play through the season, or is he going to regress? And this game, there's no question about it. We saw a substantial regression from Justin Fields to the point where the offense simply could not move the ball. And the quarterback was the number one issue with this offense. And obviously it has implications for the Jets. The Jets are depending on Justin Fields this year. When he plays the way he did week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is an offense that can do things. This is an offense that can move the ball. This is an offense that can put up points. And, I'm sure Tanner Engstrand's got to get a lot of heat this week for what happened. But think about what I said last week if you listen to my recap shows. I said that, Engstrand got a lot of credit for what went right last week. I think a lot of it was just guys executing, particularly on the offensive line. Any offensive coordinator looks like a genius when his run blocking is effective and his back hits his holes. Any offensive coordinator is going to look really bad when the quarterback has the game that Justin Fields had. But if you watch the plays, Fields had a lot of open receivers. I mean, there were moments where Engstrand, schemed guys open for him. I think if you're going to get on Engstrand, he was a little slow to react to the Bills having their corners blitz against the run. Maybe he should have gotten to the zone read game a little bit earlier than that, because once he made that adjustment, he got to the zone reads that could kind of attack that area of the field. That was when the Jets put together their one scoring drive with Fields. But I mean, it just this simple. if Justin Fields can't throw the ball more effectively, if Justin Fields can't put the ball on open receivers and get it to them in stride, this offense is not going to be able to function. One of the hopes last week was that this was the start of something for Justin Fields, that it was the beginning of the best stretch of his career, that we would not see the same story play out as we've seen over and over through the course of his career. Because the story's been, he shows a lot of promise. He gives you a tantalizing result. He makes you think, okay, if he can just play like this consistently, we've got something. You think maybe this is the point where he's finally turning the corner. And then he follows it up with a performance like this. And, it's the type of thing that makes the offense look as bad as any Jets offense we've seen in recent memories. And I remember during the preseason, one of the things I said was that there are going to be moments where Justin Fields looks really good. When Justin Fields looked bad, this offense will look every bit as inept as it did in Zach Wilson's worst day, and Sam Darnold's worst day, and Geno Smith's worst day, Bryce Petty's worst day, Mark Sanchez's worst day. It'll look every bit as bad as every Jets offense that's struggled over the last 15 years. The question is, will we see the good more than the bad? And will we see the good consistently? Unfortunately, this is a game that suggests that the consistency may not be there, even if the high level of play is really high. And that sets up a very interesting dynamic in week 3. But that's all for our Sunday edition of Locked On Jets. Tomorrow we'll be back with our regular show. We'll break down in more detail what happened on Sunday for the Jets against the Bills and what it means heading into week 3. That's tomorrow. I'll chat with you then.